Now the problems that'll separate the A's from the B's. See if you can follow along with this one. Given 7 to the power of 3x plus 2 equal 11 to the 2x minus 5. Now notice that the x's are exponents. How would you solve for x when the x or the unknown is an exponent? But before we get involved with this, I'd like to go back and review what you did as a bell work just on March 13th or before the last day we got out. When I was reviewing this type of problem, and I want you to use the idea behind it to incorporate it in what we're fixing to do. For instance, 4 to the power of x plus 4 equals 8 to the power of 3x minus 2. Now what we did is that we changed 4 to a power of 2 by saying 2 times 2. And we changed 8 also to a power of 2, so they will both have the same base. So that's 2 squared to the power of x plus 4 equals 2 cubed to the power of 3x minus 2. Now, if you have the same base, then the exponents are equal. 2 times x plus 4 equals 3 times 3x minus 2. Distribute. Forget your name. Forget your address. Forget everything, but do not forget how to distribute. So it's 2x plus 8, 9x minus 6. Now solve for x. Subtract 2x from both sides. If you're getting rid of the x's on the left-hand side, we need to get rid of the constant on the other side. So that would be 14 equals 7x divided by 7. X is 2. Now, that's when you could change the bases to the same power. Now our dilemma is we do not have that capability of changing 7 and 11 so they could have the same bases. Well, that's where we're going to get here is to use Mr. Napier's logarithms. So, the log of 7 raised to the 3x plus 2 equals log 11 to the power of 2x minus 5. Now, remember, let me change it in red and make it see if you can see it. Remember what Mr. Napier said. If you're taking the logarithm of a number to a power, you are to say power times the logarithm of the number. Now you've got to keep that in your mind as you progress with the study of logarithms. So, 3x plus 2 is a power. So you'd say 3x plus 2, now that's in parentheses, times the log of 7. That's the power times the log of the number. Same thing on the other side. Parentheses, 2x minus 5 times the log of 11. Now, here's what makes this different. You have an x on both sides of the equal marks. That means we can have to distribute. We have to distribute. You cannot get around it. And this is where it's going to be a challenge from here on out, to pay attention carefully, please. It's 3x log 7. Look up here, that's those two right there. Plus 2 log 7. That's these two. Equals, hope I have an area, 2x log 11, that's these two, minus 5 log 11, that's these two. Now, you notice it has, again, I'm going to use this red to emphasize it, you have an x on both sides of the equal marks. That cannot be. We have to get rid of one or the other. Majority of the time it's the one on the right. So that means we're going to subtract 2x log of 11 from both sides. Now you got a problem. If you're not paying attention, you're going to try to subtract 3x and 2x. But you can't subtract the logs of the numbers. So, what we're going to do then is to rewrite 3x log 7 minus 2x log 11. Now, this right here should be written x, but it does not have an x. So what we're going to do then is to eliminate it from the left-hand side. You can do that as long as what you do to one side of the equal marks, now the equal marks almost got eliminated, to the other side, so you're underneath it. You're going to write 2 log 7. But again, you cannot subtract negative, or in this case, add negative 5 and negative 2 as long as the 11 and 7. So you have to rewrite negative 5 log of 11 minus 2 log of 7. Now, because the pause was in, I am looking at a negative here and a negative there. Now, we got to be careful with those negatives. Now, again, this is where I always put a star here. because to solve for x here, we've got to factor out the x. Now people, this is where it becomes a little bit of a problem as far as being careful with this type of problem. You'll notice that it is it's a little bit different than what we've had already. When I mean by factor out the x, you are going to write an x parentheses. Now look at this area right there. You're going to rewrite 3 log 7 minus. Now look at this. We're factoring his x as well out. So the x is gone, so you'd have 2 log 11. Now, that is where you've got to be careful. That's where the problem has a little kink in it. It's like you're on a journey. If you can get over this hill, if you can rise up to the occasion and get over this hump here, then you are to be able to just breeze through the rest of the problem. Now, do not forget about these negatives in front of these numbers. Now, solve for x. Divide both sides. Not by just one location, but this entire parentheses. And what that will do is cancel that out. Well, what you do to one side of the equal marks, you got to divide the other. Now, you'll notice now this is a lengthy problem. But after you do it a couple of times, you will be able to move along quicker or do it faster. Because here I'm trying to make sure that you do the right things along the way. Now these two will cancel. So you have x equals parentheses. Now I've started off with the parentheses because that's two terms and you want to put them together in a parentheses. Now be sure you close that parentheses that you open up at the front. And you have 3 log 7 minus 2 log 11. Now, we reached a point where we go to the calculator. Now people, I'm going to put on here, and when you get through looking at your calculator, I hope it looks like what I have written on it. First, you know you're looking for x. Put your parentheses. Now, this negative is the one at the bottom of your calculator. That negative that's in the bottom in parentheses. Push that one. Not the one over the right that says subtract. You want the negative that makes the number at the bottom of the calculator. It should be right there beside your equal marks if you have the calculator that most of you use. So you be sure you put a negative. Then put 5 log. Now remember, when you push log, your calculator, you need to have 11 in parentheses. So it'll probably open up a parentheses, but you must close that on that 11. Notice if it looks like what I have. Minus, now that's the minus on the side. That's not the minus, the negative at the bottom. This is the minus sign over there with the plus, minus, times, and divide. 2 log. Now when you push log, it's probably going to open parentheses. You put your 7, but close that parentheses up. But put another parentheses for the parentheses that you started with. In other words, if you open one, you must close it. We want to close it. So you ought to have 2 parentheses at the end behind the 7. Now we want to divide by parentheses 3 log. Now remember, when you push log, the chances are you're going to open parentheses and you're going to close it. Be sure you close that parentheses on the 7. Minus 2 log. It's going to open, so be sure the number, when you take the log, it's in parentheses. Now close that up too. So you'll have 2 at the end of this problem. And so if you have written that or typed that in of your problem, now the answer would be negative 15.242. And like I said, I like for you to round off to 3 places. Now, let's work one without so much hesitation. Log 33 to the power of 6x minus 13 let me start off correctly. 33 to the power of 6x minus 13 equals 51 3x plus 19. Now, since we cannot change 33 to a power like a number and 51 to the same base, we're going to use logarithms. And it's 6x minus 13 equals log 51 to the 3x plus 19. Again, remember what Mr. Napier said. If you're taking the logarithm of a number to a power, you got to say the power times the logarithm of the number. So, 6x minus 13 log 33 equals, power is 3x plus 19 times the log of 51. Now, notice we have x's on both sides of the equal marks. We must distribute here. That is 6x times the log of 33 minus 13 log 33 equals 3x log 51 plus 19 log 51. That's distributed. Now, as a while ago we expressed this fact, you can't have x's located on both sides of the equal marks. So what we're going to do then is subtract 3x log 51 from both sides. Now put the x's under each other and the word log under each one. But remember this, you cannot subtract if you have different logs. So you have to say 6x log 33 minus 3x log 51. But don't forget, a while ago we were talking about this fella does not have an x, so he doesn't need to be over here with the x's. So add 13 log 33 to both sides. Now that, of course, canceled out. So we have 19 log 51 plus 13 log 33. Like I told you earlier, here's where the challenge is, right here. Your mind has got to tell you, or your mind has got to remember that we factor out the x. Now what does that mean when you factor out the x? At x parentheses 6 log 33, we took him out, remember that's factored out, minus 3 log 51, again we factored out the x, equals, 19 log 51 plus 13 log 33. If you can get over that hump, that's the major problem right there. If you can get over that, I believe that the rest of it is smooth sailing. So all you have to do is divide both sides by this. Of course, what you do to one side, you do to the other. A lot of writing. Question is, are you going to take the challenge to see if it works? That's going to be a toughie. So now we're ready to go to the calculator. Now we got a calculator. Now pay attention to what I have I'm writing on the board. So it's x equals. Now, on 19 you put a parenthesis. You start off with a parenthesis. So it's parentheses 19 log 51 plus 13 log 33. Now go back and be sure the numbers of log of the number is in parentheses. The 51 has got to be in parentheses, and the 33 has to be in parentheses. Then we're going to put another parentheses, at the end to close up the first one. If you open one, I hope you notice we open one. Now we're closing it. Divided by parentheses. See that parentheses? 6 log. Now remember, it'll open it up. You do what? Close it up. Minus 3 log. It opened up. You got to close it. And you put 2 of them because we open one here. You got to close it. And if you put equals, x should equal 13.084 round off to 3 places. And that ends session 3.